Well, 3 adults, 2 men and a woman, all in their 20s and 30s, are now being treated. This happened at 65th and Troop inside Ogden Park just before 7 o'clock. Clothes, abandoned hats and shoes, all laying in the center of the interrupters group who showed up just after.
So we could try to stop any retaliation from any other, so nobody else gets shot.
What does it feel like to live in a place where the sound of a car backfiring makes everyone hit the ground? Where a trip to the corner store requires a risk assessment? This isn't a war zone in a distant country. This is Englewood, Chicago. A neighborhood where the national average for violent crime isn't just exceeded, it's obliterated. Where you're 15 times more likely to be a victim of a shooting than in the rest of the city. This is the story of how an entire community learned to live with the constant possibility of death. The first thing you notice in Englewood is the eerie normalcy of extreme danger. Children's playgrounds sit empty, not because kids don't want to play, but because mothers know a stray bullet doesn't care about swing sets. The local currency isn't the dollar, it's information. Who controls which corner, where the last shooting was, which routes are safe at what time? Englewood operates with the precision of a military grid, but the soldiers are teenagers with Glocks, and the battle lines are drawn around drug territories that generate less money than a single Starbucks.
The shooting happened in the Englewood neighborhood on South Low near Westmark.
Here, the crime statistics aren't numbers. They're your neighbors, your classmates, your family. With a homicide rate that consistently ranks among the highest in the nation, Englewood isn't just a dangerous neighborhood, it's a statistical anomaly of urban violence. Englewood's descent wasn't random. It was engineered through decades of systematic disinvestment. In the 1960s, this was a thriving middle-class neighborhood with bustling commercial corridors. Then came the expressways, the Dan Ryan and the Stevenson, deliberately routed to cut through and isolate the community. White flight stripped the tax base, and predatory lending practices made sure wealth couldn't accumulate. But the masterstroke of destruction was the Great Recession of 2008. Englewood became ground zero for the subprime mortgage crisis, with banks systematically targeting the neighborhood for predatory loans. The result, over 5,000 foreclosures in a decade. Whole blocks emptied out, creating the perfect landscape for gang territories to expand, consolidate. The city's response? Cut services, close schools, and reduce police presence. Every institutional withdrawal created more space for the shadow economy to thrive. Daily life in Englewood today is a study in hyper-vigilance. The gang conflict here isn't about massive drug empires, it's about controlling corners that might generate a few $100s a day. But for the young men fighting these wars, that's a fortune. The violence is intimate, personal, and relentless. A disrespectful glance, a social media post, walking down the wrong street, any of these can be a death sentence. The police are largely irrelevant. Their presence is like pouring water on a grease fire. They respond to shootings, but they don't prevent them. In this vacuum, a brutal code of street justice prevails. Snitching is punishable by death. Retaliation is mandatory. The cycle spins so fast that teenagers carry guns not because they're predators, but because they're prey. They sleep with weapons under their pillows not to attack, but because they know nobody else is coming to protect them. Here's the uncomfortable truth about Englewood. The violence serves a purpose for the systems around it. The constant crisis justifies massive police budgets and federal grants. The nonprofit industrial complex employs thousands of people to manage the problem. But solving it? That would put them out of business. There's a reason the solutions never work. They're designed not to. The city pours millions into summer jobs programs and basketball leagues, but these are band-aids on a bullet wound. Meanwhile, the fundamental economic structures that create the desperation remain untouched. No major employers will open here. Banks won't lend to small businesses. Insurance companies redline the entire area. The message is clear. Englewood is written off. The violence becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. The chaos justifies the neglect, and the neglect fuels the chaos. The impact of Englewood's crisis radiates throughout Chicago and beyond. The trauma is biological. Children growing up in constant stress suffer from developmental damage that affects learning and behavior.
Oh, Rob and Cheryl, meanwhile, emotions are running high outside Comer.
The public health costs are staggering, with gunshot victims flooding trauma centers at a cost of millions per patient. But the most dangerous export is the normalization of extreme violence. When a society accepts that certain neighborhoods are just like that, we create a permanent underclass. We teach an entire generation that their lives are worth less, that their potential is limited, that their dreams are unrealistic. This isn't just Chicago's problem. It's a blueprint for urban segregation and abandonment that's being replicated across America. Englewood forces us to confront our national hypocrisy. We claim to value all lives equally, but we've created entire neighborhoods where life is cheap and death is expected. We express shock at the violence while maintaining the economic conditions that make it inevitable. Englewood isn't a natural disaster. It's a man-made catastrophe, engineered through policy, sustained by neglect, and accepted through willful ignorance. The question isn't why Englewood is so violent. The question is why the rest of us are so comfortable with that violence. If this look inside one of America's most dangerous neighborhoods made you think, hit that like button and subscribe. We're just getting started uncovering the truths that many would prefer remain hidden. Turn on notifications so you don't miss our next investigation into the hidden realities of American cities. Stay aware. See you in the next video.